Hello, hello. So, I figured we would make a tutorial video on, I suppose, making a Terraria clone. Now, I did do a YouTube poll. No one really reacted with it, or at least not as the making of this video. And I was crossed between two different types of platformers, kind of like a Mega Man-esque style and a Terraria clone. And maybe I'll combine those two things in the future. However, I figured why not start from absolutely nothing? So what we're going to do is download GitHub, the desktop. Don't mind what you see here. Once you have GitHub downloaded, go to File, New Repository. Let's give it a name. In this case, I'm going to say, let's just go like SFML. I'm going to do underscore Terraria clone. I'm going to choose a file location. Feel free to put this wherever you guys want to put it. I'm sure you guys know exactly how to organize stuff. So I'm going to put it in this folder here. Now, for full disclosure, I made this folder just before the video began. So let's take a look at that. Go into SFML Terraria. So it is completely empty. So that's where we're going to put this. The git ignore, I'm going to leave for none for now. The license thing, MIT license is fine. You could have none. This really doesn't matter too much in this. So we have our path, we have our name. Go ahead and hit create repository. So here we have all this stuff. Go ahead and hit publish and publish. So now if we go to this folder, as we can see, it is now populated with a folder. In this folder is some Git stuff and a license. Alright, so that's step one. Step two is open Visual Studio. For this series, I'm going to be using Visual Studio 2022. This is the community version. Go ahead and hit create new project. Go to empty project, start from scratch, hit next. And here, change like the solution name. So for example, I'm going to put Dinzai Games. And then for the project name, I'm going to say, SFML Terraria clone. So, basically the same thing that we named the folder. Here, this is the location. Go ahead and hit the triples. Come down to this PC, go to whatever, storage. If you put in documents or desktop, doesn't matter. I'm going to go to that file location. So I'm looking for, SFML Terraria. I'm going to click on the folder that was generated and hit select folder. So that's where it is. So place solution and project in the same directory. You can have this. So project will be created. Sometimes I leave this empty. I think for the most part, leave this empty would be just best. Go ahead and hit create. So this will open up a new project. First thing we're going to do, go down to source, hit the right click, and go to add new item. And I'm going to call this main.cpp. And for just a very quick thing, I'm just going to type in void main. So we got a main function. And up here, I'm going to include the stdio. Now, another thing we could include, and I'll show you why here in a minute. So we have iostream or stdio. If we use, let's say we use iostream. Down here, we can do like a cout and say, hello world, right? This is fine. This will work. The reason I was going to go with stdio is it's a little simpler. So instead of this, I'm just going to say printf. So both of these are different outputs. Really doesn't matter. But we're going to go ahead and hit the debugger and hit play. We can see it prints. And then we're going to go to the release and do the same thing. And just to really kind of show more than just talk about it, if we do the cout, and you could, in theory, do this as well. This flushes the buffer, so technically this has a lot more calls to it. It's not necessary. A lot of the time it's a lot better to do like a new line type of thing like that, but that's even unnecessary for just this. So this will do the same thing that the printf did. So if we hit play, we can see hello world. Now you might be thinking, what the hell? Why do we do this? Well, let's right click here on the project, go to open folder and file explorer. If we notice, over here, if we go back a directory, so I'm going to go back a directory, we have this x64. Mind you, this series will be using 64-bit. Inside here we now have a debug and a release. So if we hit like this release exe, nothing will really happen. But this is necessary for populating these folders correctly for the SFML implementation. And we're going to start completely from scratch. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go online and type in SFML. We're going to go to the sfmldev.org. And they did come out with a new version 3.0. We will not be using that for this tutorial. I'm going to go to 2.6.2. The reason being is there's still a lot more documentation on this. The other one is good. It does C++ 17, I believe. Not necessary for this little tutorial series. We're going to come down here to the Visual Studio C++ 17 2022 64-bit. This is perfectly fine for us. Go ahead and hit download. Depending on your internet speed, it's going to take different. I've had slow internet, I've had fast internet. Such is life. Take your time on that. If it is going, feel free, pause the video, do what you need. Once you have the download though, go ahead and hit extract all. Extract. Wait for it to do its little doohickey here. And what we're going to be looking at in particular is including the right DLL files, library files, linking things together correctly. And you might see me open up another project and kind of compare and contrast if I don't have something work correctly. But, for me, that's an easier method, something I've began to rely on a little bit, and we're going to try to avoid that. So in here, we have, and let's kind of go back out. Inside the folder we extracted, we have the kind of like the main folder. Inside the main folder, we have a lib and an include. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab both of those. I'm going to right click, click copy. Back in our Visual Studio, go ahead and right click the project, open folder and file explorer. I do it like that even though I'm probably have another window open, which we're going to go ahead and kind of close out of those, just to make sure that we're in the correct directory. Go down a level into this one. You should see like x64, vs, whatever you named it in the solution file. go ahead and paste the include and the lib. So here we can see include went, it's just needs to refresh, so to speak. So here we got those two files, and I believe it's been a while, but I believe we eventually will need this stuff as well inside the bin. So what I'm going to do here is, let's just kind of like take a look. I know we're going to need the debug for window. We're going to need the debug for graphics and also the regular. So I'm going to grab these three. Network is something I'm not going to cover. I don't, full disclosure, I've never made a multiplayer game. That, I don't even know if SFML is really good at it. I know eNet has been mentioned when I've started looking up that type of stuff. So maybe check out a video with that if you're interested in a multiplayer game setup. If you have, so we're going to grab the system, window, open all 32, and we're going to want audio too. So I'm going to take all this DLLs, I'm going to copy them, and we're going to go back into this, go into the x64, go into debug, and paste them all here. That might seem a bit ridiculous, right? Like, why are we having the non-debug files in the debug thing? Well, it just makes it easier for keeping track of where this stuff is. So let's grab the open all 32, the audio-2, the graphics-2, system-2, window-2, and I believe that's all we need. We're going to right-click those, copy, go into the release, and paste. These DLL files, if you were to ship the game, you'll have to send this with your project. Now there is a way to statically link these libraries as well. I've had success statically linking other than audio. I think it has other dependencies and I couldn't quite figure that out. But now that we have the DLL files in the proper area, and we also have the lib and include folders, we're going to right click on our project and go to properties this time. Under properties, we have a few things here. On the top left, you have this drop down. Currently we're on debug. Go ahead and go to all configurations. This C++, C++ thing, this would not be here if you did not follow the playing on release and debug. The reason we did that is not only to populate those folders, but to be able to see this drop down. Go to general, go to additional include directories. So I think, almost intuitively we can tell, hey, this is where the include folder is going to go. I'm going to, instead of trying to type out wherever this directory is here, I'm going to go over to macros, and up here we're going to type in solution and then dir. We see this. This is very useful because no matter where, if we put this on a different flash drive or hard drive, bring it somewhere, this will always look for the solution directory. We're not tying it to any particular, like a C drive, D drive, E drive type thing. So once we have that, go ahead and hit the slash, / I believe is just fine here. And then we're going to type in include. So that's all we need. Go ahead and hit OK and apply. The reason we chose all configurations for this part is we want both the release and debug to look into this include folder. Under linker, right below that drop down menu from C++, go ahead and go to general. Down here, there's additional library directories. And again, this is where we're going to be putting the library folder. So here, we'll type in solution dir. We're going to double click that to slap it over. Use the /, and type in lib and go ahead and hit OK and apply. So now that we've tied both the include and the lib, now we have to think about our actual configurations here. When we go to input, go ahead and hit debug. The reason we are now really why we are choosing debug or choosing release in this section is some library or DLL files are for release mode or for debug mode. We can't use certain ones for certain things. So under additional dependencies, go ahead and hit this drop down and hit edit. So here I'm going to go back into this, go into library, and this is where our library files are. I know that we're going to need system, so I'm going to look for system-d. So SFML-system-d. I'm going to right click it. I'm going to hit rename and Control C and click out of it. I come up here and Control V. Then I'm going to type .lib and hit enter. So we have system. Going to come back. We're going to need window. So same thing, sfml-window-d .lib. The reason I'm just doing the Control C on the name is this kind of prevents any misspelling, which definitely can happen. So we got system, we got window. We're going to want the graphics, so SFML graphics-d .lib, control, or do the file rename, Control C, Control V, .lib over here, hit enter again, come back, and you know, a game needs audio. Excuse me. So yeah, a game does need audio. It provides player feedback, immersion, that type of stuff. So we're going to Control C that as well. And lib here. Now, we almost have everything. I'm going to come up to the top and hit enter. So we have system, window, graphics, audio. And at the top here, this open all 32, we're also going to Control A him. Or not Control A, we're going to open up his his rename thing and copy the name and put him here as well. This is required. Some type of additional library SFML uses. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK and apply. And then we're going to come up here to configuration and go to release. I'm going to hit this drop down menu under additional and hit edit. The only difference is, so let's grab open all again, for example, because we'll need him. But the other ones, the only difference is, instead of that -d, we want the one without the -d. That's it. So let's grab all those. We're going to go ahead and find system. Once we have system, go ahead and find window. So we're going to come down. There's window there. And then we're going to go and grab graphics. Graphics. And then we're going to grab, let's see here, got system, window, graphics, and audio. So control that, boom, .lib. Yep, system, window, graphics, audio, and open all. Go ahead and hit OK. Hit apply. And go ahead and hit OK again. Alright, so this is where we get to test if that stuff works correctly.
So first thing we're going to do, go ahead and type hash include at the top. Use the less than thing and type SFM, and you should start seeing a folder. Go ahead and like double click that and go to graphics.hpp, so we can either come down on this arrow and hit enter. Really doesn't matter too much. What I like to do when I initially set up a project, and SFML really has some great setup stuff. Let's go over here to learn, go to tutorials, come down to SFML 2.6, go to the window module, and go to opening and managing an SFML window. We're going to scroll down to this, bringing the window to life. Go ahead and copy everything you see here. So just going to go like this, right click, copy, come in here and replace. Now there's a few things I like to personally change. So first I'm going to remove these comments. One thing I like to do is I like to actually have these brackets. To me, it just looks less like an AI generated thing. It feels more professional for a human to do. I'm also going to take away this return, and I'm going to do the return type as void. The only difference here for Windows really is nothing, but if you're doing this in Linux, you are going to have the return type as int. That's fine. This is some type of error checking with the int thing. And the last thing I like to do is see a window here, actually replace that with render window. In this while loop, not in the event while loop. Let's come down, so we're in here. Go ahead and type in window.clear, end it with a semicolon, and then do window.display. We're in the debug. Go ahead and hit play. We have a window. So the debug section is set up correctly. We could, inside this clear argument, pass it a SFML color. So I did SF : color, then : and let's just say like red. Go ahead and hit play. You should see a red window. Let's go down to the debug and go to release. Go ahead and hit play again, and if this is set up correctly, we will also see a window. Go ahead and save. So file, save all. And here is where we are going to end this video, and I will pick up on the next video. One last thing. Close out of the project. Go over to GitHub here. This is all the stuff that has now changed inside of our directory. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to summary and just say first, go ahead and hit commit to main. This will add a lot of the things over, and go ahead and either hit push origin or push origin. Doesn't really matter. And what that will do is it will, push all of our changes that we just made over to GitHub. That will, in the way that I did it, it's not technically the best, right? Because we just pushed all the Visual Studio files over. So like if I go to like GitHub, click, should be logged in. Yeah, we can see right here. If I click it, click that, we have, the solution full file. That's probably not best practice. I probably should have done like a git ignore Visual Studio or
however have you. But that's a basic way to make sure your changes are pushed over to GitHub, and a quick tutorial on how to set up your project. Well, see you soon.